Welcome to the BC Search and Rescue Association's AdventureSmart Expert Webinar Series. Tonight, it's BC Parks Ranger Dave Merritt.
Dave's outdoor recreation management career spans decades, as I mentioned, my time with him as well, actually, which includes his colorful career with BC Parks, currently as an area supervisor based out of Prince George. In his role as an area supervisor, Dave focuses on public safety and parks management. BC Parks is committed to serving British Columbians and the visitors that come to our province by providing province-wide opportunities for a diverse and high-quality, safe outdoor recreation that is compatible with protecting the natural environment as well. Dave specializes in a lot of things. He has a permanent hat head. He is well-versed in instruction and facilitation, emergency management, public safety, parks management, ATV training, snowmobile training, rope rescue, BC cave rescue for 20 plus years at that, search and rescue, 30 plus years at that, avalanche safety instructor, 10 years plus. That's a permanent hat head if I've ever heard of one. Dave's a proud father, a lovely husband, and loves the outdoors. Last but not least, and then the stage is yours, Dave, he can happily, maybe throughout the presentation, let you know some of his unique tips for fire starters with a snowmobile that he showed me once when we were, I want to say in Gatineau. I can't remember where we were. We were somewhere east of here, and it was a great demonstration. Anyway, Dave, thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate your time, and I look forward to learning from you once again. The stage is yours.
Well, thanks, Sandra. And it was actually the Edmonton SAR scene where we tipped the snowmobile on its side and used the gas tank to make a dip a tampon into the fuel tank to make it work. And it's a great little tip. Just don't drop it into the fuel tank, because then your snowmobile's not running. Yeah, thank you guys for the invite to come and have this talk as the BC Parks representative for this. It's as an agency we do a lot of different things, and it's always a challenge to try and manage everything. And before we kind of get going, yeah, Sandra did mention I'm in Prince George, and I'm on the traditional territory of the Lheidli T'enneh people, and we have a great working relationship with them in BC Parks up here. With some pretty cool new initiatives coming online over the next few years, and they're an amazing people to work with. When you start talking about BC Parks, and Scott and Sandra and I were chatting before a day or so ago about this, we do have a dual mandate when it comes to protection and recreation, and it's always sometimes that fine balancing between conservation and recreation. How do we do that? And then in recreation, how do we, as land managers, because that's what we are, we don't do the rescues like the national parks do, or in certain areas in Alberta, but we need to make sure that it is safe for the public at all times, or as best as we can, with staffing levels and visitation levels constantly climbing, which we enjoy, but it does strain us and our agency a little bit sometimes. So a lot of people ask questions like, why is the park open? Why is it closed? Well, there's a few reasons why these things happen. Some are due to seasonal closures. Some of our campgrounds won't be operating during the season with a park operator because of usage, or other ones such as the Howe Sound Trail, which gets closed because due to safety in the winter. Snow loads, the trails become icy, dangerous. So we make those decisions based upon past history, whether that's in partnerships with the BC Search and Rescue Association, EMCR, look at the stats and say, maybe this area we shouldn't be open. There's just too many people getting hurt or injured. Management plans, those are some of them are older, some of them are being redone, and those are we get to engage with the public to decide what that park should be conserved in it, what recreational values are key, carrying capacities. We look at all sorts of things. And we have a whole team of park managers that provide that opportunity for the public to engage. And they're a challenging process for us. They're a challenging process for everybody. The fun part is it's a collaboration. So we've got to find a happy medium. And then we can have special closures in some of our parks. So atmospheric rivers, emergencies, floods, fires, like we had this summer, we closed a lot of parks due to that. If there's an avalanche danger, we have closed parks sometimes. It's not often, but if there's a higher avalanche risk in a park, we've closed areas to ensure public safety and all sorts of other reasons. And those special closures, we don't take them lightly, but sometimes we have to put them in to protect the public. And we hear about it, and we're trying to act in the best interest for everybody to keep the public safe at all times. But you guys are here to talk about opportunities. I mean, Sandra said, yeah, my career started in 2000 on Vancouver Island, and I've seen all sorts of aspects in BC Parks. I've worked all corners of the province. One of the biggest activities, most popular activities in our park is skiing. I got cross country and backcountry skiing in there, but we also have ski hills inside our parks. We've got Manning's got a ski hill in it. You know, we provide that opportunity with our contractors and our partners to provide front country ski hills, and it's a great opportunity. We have some amazing cross country ski facilities across the province. Silver Star Mountain is one. Up in Charlie Lake in Fort St. John's, another campground or park where we have amazing cross country ski facilities. Snowshoeing is just taken off, as everybody knows, in the last few years. We have some amazing trails and some amazing parks that are being groomed. We have other parks where it's just your summer hiking trail you can go out snowshoeing on. But with those those skiing and snowshoeing, we remind everybody to follow the BC AdventureSmart principles, take some avalanche training, take the avalanche gear with you. People don't expect it to happen, but it can happen pretty quick. And it's going to help you help yourself when you need to call for search and rescue, having that gear with you. We have hiking. People love winter hiking. Again, same thing. Take the gear. Be organized with yourself. Leave that trip plan. That's what's going to help you when you're in trouble. And don't rely on your cell phone to always make communications pieces. Carry a satellite communication device or some other way of communicating. We have parks that do allow snowmobiling, and we have some parks that have hundreds of people snowmobiling them or through them, and it's an acceptable activity that we enjoy for our public to enjoy. Ice fishing, we have a ton of lakes in our parks with amazing ice fishing from every corner of the province. This year, the bigger struggle has been ice levels. We have many parks where the ice is not really thick enough to be out there ice fishing right now, and there's some great information on the BC AdventureSmart webpage on ice thickness. How thick does that ice need to be for me to go out fishing or even just going out walking on it? It is a concern for us, and on our webpage, which I'll talk a little bit at the end, we have some information on there to how thick do you need it to be? Where should you be doing these activities? What is it you need to be carrying with you if you do fall through the ice? Make sure of it. And some of our parks, I know we work with partnerships with some of our volunteers to actually post signs like "Don't go on the ice. It's just too dangerous." And then we have winter camping. There's some great opportunities for winter camping in some of our campgrounds. Some are still open throughout the year. You can get out there and enjoy it. We do ask that you keep a clean campsite, clean up after yourself, and ensure that it's well looked after. We have some very high use parks in the wintertime. We're not going to lie about that. Strathcona is very busy. Garibaldi, Manning with the ski hill in there. We come up towards the Smithers, the Babine area. Beautiful backcountry skiing, beautiful cabin there. Silver Star has some amazing backcountry ski or cross country ski trails, and we have some lesser known parks. And for some reason, my list isn't popping up. We've got some parks that, there's one around Prince George. We'll call it busy, but by no means is it a busy. And that's Esker's, amazing snowshoeing, ice fishing, some cross country skiing in there. There's lots of parks around our province that don't get a lot of use in the wintertime. And in some of them, that's the best time to visit them. They're a little more remote if you're into that sort of activity. Um, they offer opportunities that we don't really get to look at in the summertime. One of the ones I like to visit or have visited in the winter is heading down to into Wells Gray Provincial Park. Just looking at some of the waterfalls that are frozen this time of the year. Um, the trails are nice and safe, and there's just an amazing place to go out. And especially if you're into photography, they're amazing this time of the year to get some photos like that. But none of this can happen without our BC Park staff and our partners that we work very closely with through these activities. Now, I've talked about BC AdventureSmart. I've talked about we've had a partnership with AdventureSmart. Oh God, at least 20 years going back, from Avalanche Adventure Days to um, really just trying to educate our park users on what it is that they need to be aware of when they're visiting our parks. Our parks are amazing natural resources. We're blessed to have a little over 1,000 parks and protected areas across this province that, I feel honored that I get to work in places like this day in, day out in the wintertime, summertime, seeing you guys as parks users enjoying this place, because that for me, you guys enjoying it, that gives me another 3 days of happiness sitting in front of the computer doing paperwork or answering emails. The communities that we live and work in, they benefit from all of us protecting this land, ensuring that it's available for future generations to enjoy. We work with our other government ministries, so Rec Sites and Trails, Ministry of Forests, Emergency Management BC, BC Emergency Health Services. We work with SAR groups to educate with signage to ensure that the public know where that safe spot is, where it's not. And our volunteers, BC Parks has an amazing volunteer program that if we didn't have it, there's a lot of things we just couldn't do. We have an amazing small and mighty operation staff, but our volunteers, their dedication, their commitment to protecting parks, ensuring parks trails are open. We have volunteers that go and groom cross country ski trails. We sign them up and they get that done. The volunteer program in BC Parks has grown so much that it's such a staple now. For whatever reason, again, some slides aren't working here for me, unfortunately. We have an amazing student ranger program that I can't say enough about that. High school, university students can sign up and spend 6 weeks, I think it is off the top of my head, working in and around with BC Park staff offices. And they're doing the conservation values. They're out doing the construction, maintenance, they work hand in hand. And that program is given us some amazing new staff. They get into the field and go, yeah, this is something I really enjoy. Or they go, you know what, this really isn't for me. But now they have a great understanding of how our program works, and they can support the protection of our amazing parks and protected areas. The other one that's not on, again, not working, is Avalanche Canada. We work quite closely with Avalanche Canada to ensure that our more popular areas are 8s rated. So that's the avalanche terrain exposure scale rated for visitation and use. And then tie that with with your avalanche forecast. And that's what allows us to ensure that, we know that staff or staff, I should say, that staff and the public can get the avalanche danger for the day they're going to go and enjoy the wilderness. it's, yeah, I mean, again, I'm going to come back to it is we can't be there to make it safe for everybody. So you guys as public users are going to have to make some decisions, and getting that information is why Avalanche Canada is so important for us. Because again, we can't be everywhere all the time putting up the danger rating. That's Avalanche Canada's job, and they do an amazing job with that. And we support them where and when we can. Um, Sandra knows me quite well. Um, these talks I enjoy these talks, but really it's you guys that drive the talk. I can talk on these things for hours, but I do want to bring up a few pieces. We have some social media that are BC Parks. We have our web page, we have our Facebook page, we have an Instagram page. The web page has an amazing section on it for winter recreation. It lists a whole bunch of parks and activities that you can go to and enjoy, hang out, different ideas. There's busy parks and there's slow parks. So depending where you are in the province, and we also classify busy as two different levels. Around Prince George, a busy park for me in the wintertime is seeing 3 people. When I lived down in the Lower Mainland, a busy park for me was I had to see at least 150 to 200 people on the trail in the wintertime. So it's everybody calls it different, and it's fine. We all getting out and enjoying the wilderness, enjoying the pristine country we have and are lucky to recreate in, and I'm lucky to work in. I'm gonna kind of leave it at that, Sandra. I know it's a shorter presentation, but you know what? I know there's some burning questions out there, and I'm here for those guys more than for me. You hearing me talk, unless there's something you want me to say.
No,
No,
no
that was good.
problem.
Oh, sorry, Scott. That was good. Thanks, Dave. I appreciate it. It gave us an overview. It gave us a good list of resources and where to go. The BC Parks website is a wealth of information, and we're grateful to be able to partner with BC Parks. There's some really great AdventureSmart stamps, if I could say, within the BC Parks website, and it really bodes well. It supports your goals of outdoor recreation safety, and it allows enthusiasts like those ones that are here tonight to see where they can come across our information very organically. And what that does is it creates that safety culture, and it allows people to have that stamp of your messaging, our messaging, noting that we're partners, industry, provincial, and it allows everyone to kind of see that consistency. So if they see the 3 T's on some of our platforms or in our webinars, they happen to visit BC Parks website this summer for a great hike up in PG, and they see AdventureSmart again, that all folds in really nicely, we think, for that culture of safety within the province. And if I could just speak briefly before we get to any questions, Scott, let me know if there's any in the queue.
Yeah, there are for sure.
In British Columbia, we have 78 search and rescue groups in the province. I noticed a few of those SAR volunteers are here this evening, so hello to those who I know. I saw your names on the list, and it always makes me think how giving are all of you to join us tonight in your spare time, in addition to your full-time volunteer time with search and rescue, in addition to your family, in addition to your work, and just you, and that you take the time to join us tonight. It really is appreciated, and it shows so much support. So thank you from Sandra to you, literally. So there's 78 search and rescue groups in the province. There's about 3,400 members that belong to those 78 groups, and they're all volunteers, every single one of them, unpaid professionals. And they respond to 1,500 search and rescue calls a year in the province of BC. We update that stat based on our data. It's a provincial data management system that houses all of the incidents that happen in the province, and all of that data goes in there. We update that on an annual basis to keep you informed of how many calls are happening in a year for search and rescue. Currently, that's 1,500. Again, 78 groups, 3,400 members or volunteers, and 1,500 calls a year. So just a little plug there for all those volunteers that do all that hard volunteerism. And Scott is one of them. So that goes out to you as well, Scott. And so is Dave. So we're surrounded. I'm surrounded by all of you. I appreciate it.
Before we get into questions, I actually was wondering whether or not could I ask a question of the audience?
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, I'd love to ask a question of the audience. So what I want to know, and you guys can answer in the BC Parks where we play poll here. Everyone has their favorite BC Parks, right? And I go to a whole bunch of them. We were talking before we came online in the green room there, and I was talking about how I went to Juniper, how I went to Marble Canyon, how I hang out at Roberts Creek, a whole bunch of different parts of the province. But I want to know where your top 3 favorite BC parks are. So think of the 3, and then where do they fit in the province? You'll also notice at the bottom, there's a section for people who haven't yet visited a BC park, and this is a great time to learn where to visit a BC park from. So go ahead. We've got, well, there we go. And we're almost there. Look at the numbers rolling. It's quite interesting. You guys can't see it yet, but you will see it in a second. What I'm seeing is significantly, obviously there's always a lot of people in the Coast Mountains because there's just people who live in the Coast Mountains. But there's a lot of people in other parts of the province, especially the Kootenay Rockies. I was surprised at the number of people there. So let's take a look at that poll right now. We've got most of the people reporting. Look at that. What are your thoughts? Does that surprise you, Dave?
No, not really. You know, I mean, we sometimes think it, you know, just because the population base is down in the Coast Mountain area. You know, when I think of the Kootenay Rockies, I mean, it's got some of the best skiing and best terrain that we've got in our park system. Oh, even outside of the ski hills, there's just some amazing areas. And yeah, it doesn't surprise me. What I do love to see is just how diverse it is across all our regions. And still, we got some people that haven't visited our BC parks. Like, you know, please get out there and enjoy them. They're all of our parks to enjoy. And I hope you get to see some of our beautiful parks the next little bit.
For sure. I've got a bunch of questions that are already starting off here, so let's give one a shot. So I'll start off with a personal question that I had before it started, and you mentioned there are some provincial parks that have cross-country skiing, and I didn't know this. So first of all, is the cross-country skiing free with visiting, or do you have to pay for it? And second of all, where is it again, so I can go visit?
Yeah, totally. You know, there's 2 that pop up right into my head right now. Silver Star Mountain has just some of the world's best cross-country skiing around, and that's like going to any other cross-country ski club area. You're gonna have to pay to use it because they got groomers out there. They're
That's
maintaining
Sovereign
that
Nordic,
trail.
right?
Sovereign Nordic. Yeah, thank you, because my brain just forgot the
yes,
name of it.
I have been to that one. Yeah.
Yeah. And we also up in Fort St. John, Charlie Lake, the Fort St. John Cross Country Ski Club. Oh shoot, I forgot their name as well. I'm great with names. And it's the same thing. They're doing an amazing job. Oh, right, thank you. I just saw popped in. Manning has Nordic Trails as well. So, you know, we've developed a really cool, diverse set of cross country ski trails. Like we got other parks that they're cross-country ski routes where you're using your old school classics. There's no skate skiing, and you're just kind of following a route through a tree. And I couldn't even begin to list the amount of parks that have that opportunity. There's just lots of them. Makes for lots of chainsaw work in a snowstorm. But
now you mentioned earlier that some parks are closed due to events like major rainstorms and such. I go to most of the parks that I go to are all gated up in the winter. Does that mean I have to go home? Like, do I have to find someplace else, or what's the deal with that?
Everybody other than you, Scott, can go in. You're not allowed in now. You've told me this. You can visit the parks. You definitely, just because it's closed. We do ask people to check the webpage because maybe the park is closed, but typically the park is not closed for visitation. So you can go through past the gate, go for a walk in there. If you're going to set up a tent or do something like that, you know, there's a whole bunch of legislation that revolves around that. No more than 14 calendar days a year in that park. So you can do that. But keep in mind, if you're doing it when it's closed, down there, you got a lot of parks with running water. You're not going to have that. So you're going to be using an outhouse. If there's an outhouse, don't cut trees down in the park for firewood. Please don't leave a mess. Pack your garbage out because nobody's cleaning that garbage for the next few months. Yeah. And then if you do put garbage in there, it makes it real fun for our contractors or our staff to clean up that messy, stinky garbage that's been sitting there for 3 or 4 or 5 months, Scott. Now I know it's you. Does that answer that for you there, Scott?
Yeah. So I just one that popped up into mind. I went up near Kamloops. I think Paul Lake was the one, and I went into Paul Lake, and the gates were closed. But I saw a lot of people who had just parked out on the side of the road just for the day and had gone in and were snowshoeing in Paul Lake Provincial Park. And oh, okay, well, I guess I can do that, eh?
Yeah, you totally can. And typically our gates, if they're at a campground, are just closing it because the roads aren't being maintained, so you can't drive in the wintertime. And we're not charging for the campground, so we're not having staff maintain it. So we're trying to make it, I won't say harder, but making you realize that what was here maybe 3 months ago when we were operating isn't set up that way right now to be running. And that goes for some of our trails. But one of the big things you want to think about is where you're parking your vehicle, because we remind people that yeah, maybe the gate is closed, but maybe you don't park in front of the gate, because if the emergency services still need to get in, they may have to move your vehicle out of the way because they may get a key and then go in by snowmobile or go in by foot.
SAR does that
Yes, exactly. We've done that many a times.
many times.
Any times, especially on Burke Mountain. I used to be a member of Coquitlam. I didn't know if you know that.
There
Sorry.
you go.
And the other one is in the wintertime, a lot of our northern parks, we don't really have much of a space between the edge of the road and the gate. So people will end up getting their vehicle plowed in by snowplow sometimes. So just
Take out
be
a window.
cautious where you park
Yeah.
your vehicles. Oh, we've a few windows taken out by highways, and that's always come back and they're trying to figure out where the car seat's wet.
Fair
It wasn't
enough.
us. Trust me, it wasn't us.
We've got a bunch of questions. I think they're relatively related. There is one from Lena in the Q&A section. Please make sure you use the Q&A section. It makes it easier for me. I'm really lazy, and that way I can find your questions. But Lena asked if you could get in more detail about the name of the 6-week programs that you have and the volunteer opportunities. Can you go into a little more detail about that?
Yeah. So it's kind of that was the student ranger position, and I'll talk about that. And then you said volunteer opportunities. Well, I don't know where you are, Lena, in the province. So I always tell people the first thing to do is check with the park staff or reach out to the web pages for volunteer opportunities. Some clubs are looking for it, or some staff may have projects that they're looking for volunteers on. I always try and direct people to a club, because a lot of our clubs, hiking clubs, have volunteer agreements already. I'm going to put a small plug into one that does a lot of work up here in the central interior. Is the I'll come back to it. So I'm having a great day. I warned you, I didn't get a great sleep last night. The Caledonia Ramblers, and they're a club, and they maintain hundreds of kilometers of trails up here in partnership with us. And so that club goes out and does things. They won't ask for volunteers, but if you join the club, they'll get you out doing things. The student ranger program is I think it's open or just about to close, looking for students to apply. Now you have to be under the age of 30. You have to be a student going back to university or high school, and then you apply to the program, and it's an online application, and you fill out what skills you have, what you're bringing to the table, where do you want to work in the province. Last summer we had 2 students at Liard Hot Springs, if I remember correctly, that came from Vancouver. So you can go anywhere you want in the province. It doesn't have to be in your local area. And if it is something you're interested in, and I suggest you try different areas of the province. And like I said, I think it's 6 weeks or maybe 8 weeks, and it's a great opportunity to learn about BC Parks, the future, if it's a career you want. And we've had hundreds of kids through recently. See, Sandra has her hand up there.
I'm going to put the link to it in the chat here. Go ahead, Sandra.
Thanks, Scott. It's a great program. From an ex-park ranger, I mean XX. I was a park ranger in the 90s. Let's just leave it at that. And what I've loved about the ranger program is it's come for full circle for me. And I think it's an awesome opportunity for those interested in park work, starting your career, adding to your career, seeing if it's what you want to make as for longevity of a career. But what it does is it allows you to also work closely with us. So every summer and winter, I work with affiliates at BC Parks, and I train those park rangers that are coming on as student rangers. So they get trained as outdoor educators. So they are a part of the AdventureSmart system, provincially, nationally. And then when you're doing trailhead outreach or you run into some enthusiasts within the parks as your summer ranger work, you are also wearing a BC AdventureSmart hat, figuratively. And that allows you to share the consistent messaging that we share with you in the training, and it just sets you up for success. And it goes back to that piece of that partnership that is so solidified now, I think. And we're 20 years in November with BC AdventureSmart in British Columbia. And that relationship with BC Parks has really grown and really cemented. And I think this is one example of that. I just wanted to jump in and say that to Dave and everyone else at BC Parks. The opportunity for us, BC AdventureSmart, which is a BC Search and Rescue Association program created by them, it allows us to work with you, which in turn helps park visitors. So there's that public safety piece, there's that outdoor rec safe piece, and that's how we can all work together to make that happen. It's just a proud part of my work, and just wanted to say thanks for that opportunity again to BC Parks and any student rangers out there that I've trained before or can't wait to train some more coming up. So hopefully that program continues on and on.
Now, obviously, I wasn't in BC, but I was in Ontario, and I was a Ontario ranger, a student ranger in the Ontario Provincial Park of Missinaibi Provincial Park. And so I'm sure it's a relatively similar program, enough that I can also highly recommend it.
Yeah, and I have to plug the program there, Sandra, because all of our AdventureSmart instructors that you've trained through the Student Ranger program, when they come into the office, they're like, it's, you know, their first interaction with the public out there, they're just like, it's so relevant, it's so good. We help this person, we help that person. The other key thing with that program that they get is, I'm going to put a couple more plugs into the program. Bear awareness, like how to keep a clean bear campsite, how to talk to the public, the skills that the student rangers learn in their training session, and then watching them then the first day to the last day when we see them leave, you kind of go, wow, man, that the growth is phenomenal. And as I said earlier, we've had some amazing staff members get hired out of that student ranger program, and it's just going to increase, over the next 3 to 5 years, because we're all getting older in our careers, and so we got to get some
Not
new
me.
staff somewhere.
I'm getting younger.
Please,
It's only a number. It's only a number, you guys. It's only a number. Remember that.
Yeah.
I'm just going out on a limb. It's only a number.
Jesse was asking, was talking about the fact that call volumes going up, and as well as the park, the number of people just taking advantage of the parks, both in the summer and in the winter. My question for you is, as the number of people more people go in the parks, are you guys getting more staff and more budget to align with the increasing number of people, or is it sort of you hold the line on that, but you're servicing more people over time?
It's a little bit of both. I mean, we have some amazing executive staff provincially that have done some amazing job to get us some amazing increase in numbers for staff. The bigger struggle always is how many is too many and how little is too little. So we're always playing that balancing act. I think we're sitting at a nice number of staff right now, complement. We're also now under an umbrella. So BC Parks and Rec Sites and Trails are all in the same agency now. We still have different mandates, but we're all kind of under one branch of the Ministry of Environment. So we're in the middle of trying to figure out what are we going to look like in 3 to 5 years, and how's that merge going to look. So we might see a little different shift in staff moving around differently. We don't know. So a question like that, how we're going to be in the future, is a little hard to say, because we're having that internal conversation of going, well, what are we going to look like? I mean, we're the 2 largest recreation providers in the province, between Rec Sites and Trails, BC, and BC Parks. We provide that, and we don't want we want it always to increase. But yeah, with the more numbers going up, it's budgets are always tighter. I mean, it's government, and it's not a bad thing. It's not a good thing. It's just there's only X number of dollars, and it's got to go around to meet all the needs of everybody for everything in the province.
Sandra.
Just to add to that call volume piece, yes, that number continues to rise. There's no question. I know when I started with AdventureSmart, if anyone in the crowd was with me way back when, we started the program in 2004, and there were approximately 900 calls a year. Now we're 1,500. That number has even waxed and waned, right? We were around 2,100 during COVID. There was a 30% increase during that time frame. So it does fluctuate, but the trajectory has continued in that direction. This is where it comes to that bigger question, and just to talk about it for 2 seconds, and then I can go back to other questions. The culture of safety and the attitude and the approach and the conversations that are happening now versus back then are completely different. The time and energy that you participants of the webinar tonight are taking to get informed has changed. From me being a park ranger way back when, and spending time in the backcountry, setting up backcountry accesses, to this day of doing all this work that I love to do with BC AdventureSmart for BC SAR, outdoor recreation community has changed. And there's been an increase in outdoor recreation and an increase in promotion of outdoor recreation. There's so many layers to that equation. It's not just call volume. There's so much more involved. So I think that's a whole webinar on its own. But just to speak to it, I think even though that number is a big one, and it is a big one, bigger than anywhere else in Canada, to be honest, based on our data, I say the community has changed. And I feel, even though there's more people visiting the parks, and Dave can attest to that, and the influx in outdoor recreation has grown so dramatically on all levels, I'd say we've taken a slight corner where that enthusiast is taking more time to follow the 3 T's, if you will, right? They are actually taking efforts to trip plan, or getting informed about it, or following one of our webinars, or checking out our social, or visiting it on BC Parks platform. They're actually getting training. This is training. Tonight's conversation is training. It's an awareness. It's having a conversation, learning about more resources. People are getting way more certification-based training. They're really understanding how important it is and how it applies to have mentorship. That's a form of training as well. Spending time with someone who knows something more than you will gain from that. And they're talking about and showing and proudly expressing all the essentials that they're taking with them in a pack. There was a post online this afternoon right before we came on, and it showed an influencer who is aligning with our messaging and had it dialed to a T, no pun intended on the T part. But she had listed them all perfectly, did a great little video, and that's happening organically. And so all of those pieces, to me, is spending so much time in the industry, Dave as well, Scott too, I feel that like those pieces are coming together. Those pieces of the puzzle are coming together in a unique way. Yes, the call volume's going up, but a lot more of us are spending time out there, and you're also getting more informed. So I guess it's a thank you from me to you for getting informed.
Yeah, and the more people who are informed, even if you do run across a person who maybe not have all the training, you can help.
Yeah.
And we do see that, right? We do see, like, I've got calls from Coquitlam Search and Rescue where it's a person who's completely unrelated to that other party is calling to ask for help. And by you guys on this webinar getting trained, you are making not only it's more safe for you and the people with you, but the people you might encounter on the trail.
And I'll make this one a short one. The severity of a search and rescue call, I believe, has changed. So that's becoming less severe, right? People are taking that gear with them. They could spend a few hours a night because they have the gear. That reduces the severity of a call, and that makes it easier for Dave and Scott and all the others out there. So when you're prepared, and even though an emergency does happen, but you've reduced the severity of it, it's still success because it's impacting and helping the SAR community. It's very considerate when you're prepared.
We like the considerateness of it. The other one I was just going to mention, Sandra, that I've noticed both as a park manager and as a SAR volunteer is part of the 3 T's is communication. With the changing of technology, yes, our call volume has gone up. We know that our visitation of parks has gone up. That's amazing. But a two-way satellite communicator has changed the world of search and rescue, right? We would do multi-day searches to try and find somebody. Now I know where you are and I know your problem. So we can come with the right tools, right resources in a much more timely manner to get you out of that situation you're in.
and it's going to change again in the next few years for sure. I wanted to get a couple more questions in here before we slide off into the sunset and maybe do some giveaways. The first one is, in our previous webinars, we've had a number of subjects who have been on the line. One of them recently was a person who got lost in a BC park. One of the questions that she had for me when I was talking with her was, how can she get in touch with the park and let them know where she screwed up, so that maybe some new signage, or that there might be some alternate way. What is the right way for a person to get back in touch with the park and give feedback about safety issues?
You know what? That's a great question. The easiest way is go to the web page, and there's an email address on there. You know, because we don't have all our email address, because there's 250 people in BC Parks, and how do you know it's the right person?
Send it
So we
to
always tell
Dave
people,
Merritt.
probably not, because yeah, my inbox hates me right now. It's starting to blow up slowly. But we have a web info piece, and if you send it to there, our staff know who the area supervisors are for parks. So they'll go, oh, hey, this is this park, that needs to go to Dave, or this one needs to go to this person, this person, this person. Give us a few days, we'll get back to you on it. But you know, that's the quickest and easiest way, because it'll get in the queue, and we'll get on it quickly. But you brought up a really great point about signage. One of our struggles has been, since I've started in this job, is keeping our signs. People think they're beautiful things to hang on their wall at home, and we've had lots of issues where we'll be hiking along the trail going, there's supposed to be a sign here, and it's gone, and you're 3 hours into the backcountry, somebody's ripped it off, I'm sure, and taken it home. So that's always our constant struggle, is going up going, there used to be trail markers through here, where'd they go? So
If
we're
anyone on this
constantly back at
webinar
little,
wants a sign, email
please
Sandra,
don't.
and
Oh.
she will email it to me, and I will make you a sign, and I will send it to you in the mail. Don't take it from the trail. How about that? Okay.
That's a big offering. You be careful, Scott.
Hey, I'm not saying it's a good sign.
I don't want a sign.
You know my email already. You don't have to email Sandra. Tessa says that she's a big fan of the accidents, incidents in North America books. Do you know, Sandra, whether or not those are still being printed, or Dave, and if they are, do you know where they are?
I haven't seen a printed version in a couple years, but I do know there's they have a website that you can look at a lot of that stuff still. And to be honest, it's a great book. I think I got like 10 volumes on my shelf over
Wow.
the years. You learn from other people's mistakes, and they're willing to talk about it. And it's a great tool, especially if you're into the mountaineering. You know, you just kind of, oh, wow, okay. If you're into those sorts of things, there's some amazing podcasts out there that you can listen to, and they talk to the people on the story, and it's a great couple. There's 2 or 3 different podcasts doing it, and they're really, really great as well.
Finally, for Sandra, just before we get to the things, Daryl Beck was talking about, what if every trailhead in BC, by the way, every trailhead in BC, that's a lot, had a sign, metal or something, that asking hikers if they considered the 3 T's, which of course are, anyone happen to know? Not Sandra?
Are you asking? Oh,
Dave, do you happen to
Oh,
know 3 T's?
I was like,
Trip planning.
yeah, I was just
Oh,
gonna
look
trip
at
planning,
Lisa
take the
jumped right in
essentials and
there.
training,
There you
yeah.
go. Lisa got
Nice.
on the thing. Trip planning, training,
You
and
beat
taking
me,
the
Lisa.
essentials. Lisa apparently
Lisa,
is
you're hired.
answering on the chat to the hosts here. Thank you very much for that. But yes, it's trip planning, training, and taking the essentials. And I know we've talked about this before. I do know there's some trailheads. I know if you go up to the chief right now, you'll see a sign that says, "If you were lost, did somebody know?" And I know if you're on North Shore, North Vancouver, District of North Vancouver has some wonderful signs, like a little picture of a person and all the different things that should be in his backpack and such. But every trailhead would be a lot. Speaking of budgets.
Well,
But
the other side of it is I'm just going to jump in, Sandra, if you don't mind. What we're finding is some of our trailheads are getting too busy, and people aren't looking at any signs because they just see a forest of signs and they kind of go, yeah, we're gone.
Yeah,
So it's a happy medium piece. It's a very, we've just done some pretty big information on sign rebranding for us that we're trying to think about what the future is going to look like and how do our signs look. Sorry, Sandra, I talked in front of you there.
That's okay. And you make an excellent point, because I was going to talk about signs. I don't think it's a bad idea, but I don't think the sign is the introduction to, it should be a reminder of. So what we talk about, as Lisa pointed out, trip planning is that first piece. That's done at home. That's done around your table with nachos and a couple drinks. You're hanging out with your friends. You're talking about your trip. You're Googling, you're searching, you're looking at books. You're talking to friends who've done it before. You're reaching out to the likes of anyone who's been in that region. You've talked to them about their time and the seasons they've spent. You know, you're doing your homework before you get there. You're checking out those resources on AdventureSmart, BC SAR, Outdoor Education, BC, you know, the list goes on. That's done at home, days, weeks prior. Then let's say you get to the trailhead. And like we have done, we work closely with BC Parks. We have some strategically placed signs that are BC Parks AdventureSmart branded with some awesome information. 3 T's are there. What to do in an emergency, which is a really key piece. That's critical. And a QR code that leads to that trail, specific video for that trail. So those are obviously strategically placed. And I can say the House on Crest Trail is one of them, right? So that's a unique situation that I've worked with BC Parks on. So that is based on data. This is kind of our model that we work on. So those are data-driven insights that built that sign, worked with the partners, BC Parks. The initiative, which is the third piece, is the sign itself. So when people get to that trailhead before they start that hike, they've already done all their homework. So that sign, as much as I agree with you, Dave, because sometimes we just buzz right by them, right? It's like, I'm not reading that. Who cares? I got to go. Got somewhere to be. That's a reminder. Or it might catch their eye and they might take a picture of that. We all know they're still going, right? Maybe they come back, they check it out later, and then it's part of their trip planning for their next visit. But if there's any land managers in the room tonight and they're interested in signs for their park, for their kiosks, for their online platforms, definitely reach out, because the more that I can work with the land managers with BC AdventureSmart, create that branded messaging online, virtually, traditional old signs in the trails, happy to do it.
And having rec trails and the sites be mixed with BC Parks, that might mean that you end up having some things over there on that side too. So,
and that's some of the things I know we got a team working on what that's going to look like. The other one I was just going to mention, Sandra, that it's kind of a unique one when we talk about planning at home, is we've had a lot of trails where the Google backpack has gone and hiked some of the trails, so you can actually get an idea what the trail looks like and some of those issues on it. And the one that always pops to mind is we'd always look at the first little bit of the Mount Robsonburg Lake Trail and go, okay, you know, our park staff did a cool initiative on that. It's like you could literally walk virtually a little bit of it, kind of go, oh, okay, I can do this, or well, maybe this is something I want to do, right? So there's some other cool things out there that allow us to plan ahead of time. And I'm going to plug in, check our park webpage, because there might be something in there you don't know about, or we're having a closure, or, you know, I talked about the Berg Lake Trail. Like, we had a big event there a few years ago, and we're still rebuilding that, and it's taken a little time for us to get back. So for Scott or any of those users, just take a couple minutes and see what's going on in that park, and get out and enjoy it.
it's a good thing about videos, though. We actually have, and I'll put it in the chat here. Oh, Sandra just put it in the chat. There goes on. We have trail-specific videos that BC SAR has made as a part of the AdventureSmart program, and they've actually gone to some of the most busy trails and hiked them and pointed out where, oh, this is the part where you need to think, oh, let me rethink about this. Maybe I should turn around now, or let's assess to make sure everything's fine. Do I have all the equipment I need to go further? Is everyone feeling well? Do we have enough time left in the day? They actually go through it step by step. And that includes everything from, there's a number of BC Parks places. There's a Metro Van Park. There's things out in the north. There's places on the island. It is absolutely marvelous. Highly recommended to check out the trail-specific safety videos. Speaking of videos, Sandra, shall we throw to a video and then perhaps come back and give away some prizes?
I think so. Let's show our 3 T's video. We've been talking a lot about it. People are reciting it. That makes me very happy. Let's have a couple minutes to check this out, and then we'll come back and see who wins some prizes.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
So, you want to be adventure smart.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
But what is being adventure smart?
Being adventure smart is really all about taking responsibility for your own safety and following the 3 T's.
Got it. What are the 3 T's?
What are the 3 T's? The 3 T's are the trifecta of outdoor safety: trip planning, training, and taking the essentials. The 3 T's can vary from person to person, activity to activity, and season to season. But here are some important ways to ensure you are prepared and safe on your next adventure. Trip planning. We could go on forever about this one. Trip planning is an essential step and one of the easiest ways we can stay safe on our adventures. This is something that should be done every time we head into the outdoors, whether for a few hours or multiple days. Trip planning can be broken down into 4 simple steps. Planning your travel route and navigation is about picking a trail or route based on its difficulty that's relative to your experience, ability, and the amount of time you have. Know your limits. Not all trails are created equal, so know the terrain and conditions. A 10-kilometer hike scrambling straight up a steep mountain is a lot different than a 10-kilometer stroll around a lake. Before you go anywhere, check the weather and keep checking it as things can change fast. This includes wind, precipitation, temperature, and sunset times. Finally, make sure you leave a comprehensive trip plan with a trusted contact. Keep in mind, this may not be your mom or dad or best buddy. Choose someone you can count on if you were to get into trouble. A comprehensive trip plan might be as simple as sending your trusted contact a text or email with key information about your activity, or using the AdventureSmart app, which allows you to enter a detailed trip plan. Training doesn't mean being an elite athlete or being queen of the mountain on Strava. Training is a continuous process of outdoor recreation. It's about developing the necessary skills and abilities to be safe. This might include working your way up to that big summit hike, taking a few courses to expand your wilderness and backcountry knowledge, navigation and route finding courses, or even learning more advanced skills like rescue and emergency training. You have planned and trained. Now make sure you take the essentials. Taking the essentials means packing everything you potentially need to stay warm, safe, and dry if an emergency unexpectedly arises. What if you rolled your ankle or got hurt? What if you got lost and had to spend the night outdoors? Take the time and be prepared to look after yourself. So that's it. Those are the 3 T's.
That's it.
But no matter how hard you train, how well you trip plan, and how much essential gear you bring, you may still find yourself in an emergency. And that's okay. The wilderness can be unpredictable. If you find yourself in an emergency, it's important to stop, think, observe, and plan. Use that essential gear you brought to stay warm, dry, and safe, and contact 911 on your emergency communication device. Remember, search and rescue in BC is free for everyone. Remember, safety is an outcome of good trip planning, training, and taking the essentials. It's your responsibility. So let's all do our part and be adventure smart.
And there we go.
Thanks, Scott. That was great. It's always good to have a little refresher. I also shared that with those who were watching on Facebook Live, in case you wanted to watch that again, or share it with family or friends. It's a good little few minutes just to capture really what we talk about a lot of in detail. And it's a good little reminder. So let's jump into some prizes, and then we can thank Dave again before we all head off for the rest of our evening. We have a few prizes tonight. So the first one we're going to give away is Bright Source. Dave talked about a few things, and we actually talked about a few things tonight. So I would like you to think about maybe what Scott, myself, and Dave said, and that will help you find the answers. I know you will. The first one is, it was something that I had mentioned actually. So this is for the bright source light item that we'll connect you with. And the first one to type in the answer. So get yourself ready. Scott's eyes are queued up there, ready to go. How many search and rescue groups are there in the province of British Columbia?
Ray was the
Gotcha.
first to answer. Thank you very much, Ray. And what we're going to do in this for Ray and for any of our other winners, we'll make sure to send an email to you probably tomorrow. And we'll use the email that you used to register for this. 78
Nice.
is the right
I
answer.
see some other numbers floating around. 34. I can see why you said that, but it was 3,400 members that we had.
There you go. I was wondering where the 34 was, but I should have
Me
known
too,
that.
actually. And I'm thinking maybe that's what a few people had thought. So we have 78 groups, 3,400 search and rescue members.
And I know
Super.
how many calls too. By the way, that call number wasn't from 2023. That was from 2022, wasn't it?
Correct.
Yeah, 1,500. We're going
Yeah.
to get the 2023 information out soon. Maybe have a little press release on that one, I imagine.
We are. So every May, if anyone wants to mark their calendar other than me, Scott, and Dave, every May is when BC Search and Rescue Association actually puts out that annual call volume for the year prior. Obviously, we work in the fiscals, and so that will come out May 2024 for the call volume of 2023, because we'll have all that data in our system. So that's where those numbers, good point, Scott. This question is something that Dave mentioned, and it's for a Reco reflector. We actually had Gordon Burns, who I believe was here tonight as well. I'm not sure if he's still here. Hi, Gord, if you are. And this is for one of their reflectors. It's an awesome tool, which is great. So this question has to do with something Dave was talking about. Can you let us know what the program is Dave was talking about tonight? That is so awesome. And then I get to train some of those people in that program. What's that program called?
There we go. You know what? I'm not Ray, you already got something. I'm not going to give something to you, though you are really fast at typing. So congratulations for that. I am going to give it to Che, who said the Student Ranger program. So there you go. Good job, Che.
Great. This next question is for from Helly Hansen. It's a mid layer, so it's pretty cool, sought after. Everyone needs a few extra mid layers. I know I do. They're always perfect to head out there. This one, the answer was in our video. So if you paid attention to our 3Ts video here at the end, this is the question about that. And as you learned a little bit more about the 3Ts or were refreshed about it, but there was something else in there. What is the analogy that we recommend you do in an emergency? What should you do in an emergency? There was an analogy that we referenced. Oh, there we go.
Yes, and Lisa Sperling got it right. Stop, think, observe, plan. Look at her go.
Oh, right on. That's cool.
Awesome.
And that's an important piece to reducing that severity for search and rescue. So really remember that we can plan, we can have all our ducks in order, but accidents do happen, incidents do occur. And that STOP acronym and what you do in that situation can really make your situation better and for our search and rescue volunteers. Super. The last prize is kind of a swag mixed bag from Helly Hansen as well. It's a beanie and a few small items. And I wanted to ask you if you could tell me where Dave lives.
In the world is Carmen Sandiego. No, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I like all the short forms. People aren't even typing it out. They're just short forming it. I think everyone listened really well tonight. So everyone, oh, did we get a winner there? Did you see anyone?
I don't know. You see, here's the question. Do we give it to the first person who had the initials or the first person who actually wrote out the town?
Oh my goodness. Now we're getting down. And I didn't put out the criteria. I'm going to take an acronym. It's okay.
Okay, but
because I know it's PG. We all know it's pretty.
Yeah, it's but
PG.
I know, but it's
It's
Mr.
PG.
PG, right? Like you actually have
True,
to think of
yeah.
the tall guy with the
Yeah,
hockey stick arms and such, right?
we've
So
all been there.
the first person to answer that it's Mr. PG and actually PG in general was Tessa. Congratulations, Tessa.
Thanks, Tessa. Thanks everyone for playing. That's great. It's a fun way. We really appreciate the support that we get from these industry partners. They like what we do, and they're here to provide you with some really great giveaways and help you and thank you for doing what you've done. And what you've done tonight is you've gotten informed. You joined Scott from Coquitlam Search and Rescue, myself from BC AdventureSmart, BC Search and Rescue Association, and Dave from BC Parks, a lot of B's there, to join us this evening and learn a little bit more. I think you already had a pretty good foundation by the questions that came through, the answers that were plugged up there, the definition of trip planning, training, and taking the essentials. You guys had it dialed. So thank you for that. We look forward to welcoming you back to any more of our winter webinars, and definitely for summer 2024. Enjoy the rest of your winter, whatever it brings you, rain, snow, sleet, sun. We just have to embrace it because we're going to get what we're going to get. All the best. And on behalf of the 3,400 search and rescue volunteers in the province of BC and the BC Search and Rescue Association, thank you for getting prepared and being rescue ready, and enjoy your adventures coming up. Good night, everyone.